Have you noticed, by the way, that these tunnels are rather large compared to the footway we were just in?
Yeah.
They're almost double the size of the other passageway. That's because this passageway, they had leftover tunnel rings from when they constructed the Piccadilly line. Because as Jane said, the rest of the Piccadilly line opened in 1906, but this station opened a little bit later due to the complex emergency escape in 1907. Because they had leftover tunnel rings, they used them to make these rather unusually sized tunnels. It's the equivalent of standing in a running tunnel if you were just in a normal tube tunnel, which again made it perfect for the REC because they had extra space when they converted these premises. Now, how long did the REC stay down here for? We know the war ended in 45, but they didn't move out until the 1st of January 1948. Because of course they'd spent all this money, they had equipment down here, it was just easier. Some of their operations had gone back to Building House, but there were people still working in here a few years after the war. But of course, the 1st of January 1948 was when British Rail was created, and I think Jane said that earlier as well. And that was the end of the REC, because you couldn't have an REC and a British Rail Board. There was a bit of they tried it, but it didn't quite work. So then, since the 1st of January 1948, everybody moved out. We don't have an awful lot of evidence as to what happened since. Did the Churchill corridor was that ever used again? Well, we don't know. When did the grey paint make its appearance again? We've had several suggestions. I've heard all kinds of things. You know, oh, it's used for emergent. The fire brigade were training their staff down here, and they painted everything grey to make for a more atmospheric effect. But then, why would you spray paint every single wire on the telephone exchange? I wonder. I've also heard it's the colour used for they were trialling anti-radiation paint in the early 50s. We don't know. I wouldn't want to make any wild guesses. But if anyone ever has any ideas, do let the museum know, because it's part of the research. Another thing that the museum's researching is the G. Now, the only other place we've seen this G, and a lot of people assume it's G for Leslie Green. It isn't, because it's not original, it's been etched on. But the only other place we've seen that is at Euston, which is one of the other disused stations. There's 4 of them at Euston, there's one of them here. It can't be G for gas lock either, because you don't have gas locks at Euston. So we're still trying to work out why we have a G. Now, what happened to the partitioned walls? Well, they all came down in the mid-80s. We've seen one of the books tells us that the author of that book was down here on a site visit, and the walls were still intact as late as 1986. But then when the King's Cross fire happened in 1988 and they turned this into a designated evacuation route, the 2-foot wide corridors just would not have been satisfactory. So everything had to come down. As we say, they rebuilt the spiral staircase. And also they fitted these phosphorescent strips that were trialled at Aldwych Station, as seen at Aldwych. Because back then, hadn't quite got the technology right with backup batteries that you now have. They're a little bit ahead of their time with the they're a little bit behind their time with the phosphorescent strips, because by the time these came out, they didn't really make their way or catch on elsewhere, because they'd invented the backup battery or come up with a more satisfactory solution. But they do glow in the dark, and it does reassure you that if you are ever evacuated here, you might find yourself at Down Street once again. And as you can see, it doesn't take long before they go back to normal, so you probably have to run to the spiral staircase to sleep. But there is a thought, you may find yourself back here again. So all that leaves me to say at this point is, I would like to say thank you for joining us on behalf